And John's going to be back with us. And of course, you've seen John, not only his picture every week in the paper, but you've seen him on The Odd Couple, the latest, one of the latest productions done at the theater. And here we've got Dale Rosine, as well, the director of the Alaska Great Lakes Project. And Dale's been doing this for so many years, and now we finally have a video for public access. Here they are. Welcome, guys.
Hey, good evening.
Thanks.
John, you've grabbed Dale, so why don't you start it right off?
Well, Dale Rosine is the director of the Alaska Great Lakes Project, and the group has just returned back from their 20th
20th trip.
trip. It's been 2 weeks already since they've been back, and they went to Alaska for 23 days, and Dale has been there from the start. So how did the program get started back in '89?
It was actually kind of an accident that it got started. I was working and developing some curriculum for the University of California, Berkeley, and I got invited to go up to Alaska to do some workshops for teachers up there. And that was February of 1989. They invited me back in October, or actually August of '89, but in between the Exxon Valdez spill had taken place. So when I went back up there, I wanted to know how the teachers in Alaska were teaching about the spill. So when I did that, I happened to meet a teacher from Palmer, Alaska, who had formerly taught in the one of the villages that was closest to where the spill was. And during that conversation, he said he was going to go visit the village. So he sent me a videotape of his visit, and at the end of the tape, he said, "It'd be cool if I could get some other Alaska teachers to go visit the village, and we could see if we see any effects of the spill." Well, being a silly guy and an adventurous guy, I wrote to him and said, I want to come. And I went to my school board and said I wanted to go on a field trip to Alaska. They laughed at me, told me to come back when I could figure out how I'd pay for it. And I talked to the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, and they gave me an initial grant that got the project going. And now here it is, 20 years later, we're still going.
Still going. And with this most recent trip, this was the last one that you were actively involved with as a teacher, because you've retired now after 40 years with Marshall Public Schools.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a two-part question. The first question is, throughout the years, does the trip feel different year to year? And now that it's going to be a different process, I guess, for you in terms of getting familiar with the students, is that going to be different now? How different is that going to be now that you're no longer in the school day to day?
Well, I'll do the second part of your question first. For the past 3 years, I've taught technology. So all of the students who are now will be this year in 7th grade, or in 8th grade, 7th grade, and 6th grade, have been in my classroom. So I've gotten to know all of those people anyway. Plus, after 40 years at Marshall Middle School, I know the staff that is there, and it's going to be different not being there on a day-to-day basis.
Let me break in because you mentioned technology. We've got some DVD footage they're going to bring up for a few seconds. So while we're talking, we can see some of the footage. And of course, I've been bugging you for, 10, 12 years. You've been shooting great video of your projects for a long time. And now that you're retired, you've actually produced, there are 2 shows now that you've done, and I hope to get some more. And these are some of the kids have shot these?
Yeah, these are all shot by kids.
And of course, we're looking at some whales right now. And go ahead, they can shrink that and put that in the lower corner. But I'm really excited to have some video from you because you've talked about this wonderful program for so many years with Dottie. And now we have it on Impact. So.
Well, it's a lot easier to make the videos now too than it was back when with all those videotapes and things. So it's a whole lot easier to immediately do that. But I should be able to continue the trip because I know the kids, I know the people, and actually I might have a little bit more time to be able to do some of those things outside of school hours. And I talked to the administration before I left to make sure that I still would have access to the kids, because the trip has become a big part of the Marshall community. I think nearly 800 kids from Marshall have gone to Alaska with the Alaska Great Lakes Project. A huge number. I haven't even counted the number of adults that have been part of the project in one way or another. At the beginning, we were taking 12 kids. This year we had 65 kids, about 45 new 8th graders, and about 20 that are developing leadership skills as part of it. So we've taken a lot of people. When we get on an airplane, they know that we're there. And Marshall is a familiar place to people in Alaska. They haven't been, most of them haven't been here, but they know about Marshall, Michigan, in all parts of Alaska.
So besides going there for the environmental and scientific purposes, there's something else that's going on there in terms of the, if you want to call it maturation of these kids, or the interactions that they have, or the relationships they form. How important is that? That must be a huge impact on the kids.
One of the things that's changed, we originally went up there doing science in Alaska, but we saw that the positive things that were happening to kids were equally important. So we've done a couple of things. Number one, we developed a leadership program. Kids who have gone now as 8th graders can return as and become a junior beater. They're called the beaters because they earn beads as they develop certain leadership skills. After they've been a junior beater, they can come back then as a junior leader, and they're actually in charge of the different committees, that everything from being in charge of the web page. Our nutrition committee plans the meals, develops the shopping list, goes shopping, I pay the bills, and then the kids from the nutrition committee work with each of the vans, each meal to put it together. So it's that whole thing. But beyond that, even more, kids are just developing. We push kids to do things they didn't think that they could. We used to climb a mountain. We'd say, if you want to climb this mountain, you can. Otherwise, you can sit and read a book or whatever. Now we take every kid to the top of the mountain, and the kids are feeling so great standing at the top that it was worth pushing them to do that. So we climb 2 mountains. We climb Mount Healy in Denali National Park, and we also climb up to the ice field next to the Exit Glacier down in Seward. And we also run a 10K race. Every kid runs and finishes a 10K race. That's 6 miles. A lot of them have never done that. This year, every kid finished in less than an hour and 45 minutes. In fact, one of our kids, Kayla, is Brianna finished first in her age group. And this race, it's the Midnight Sun Run. It starts at 10 o'clock on the Saturday, the day before Solstice Day, and it's got about 3,000 runners in it. So she did really well. She's going to develop into a really good runner. And we've had other people. Sarah Dillman was one of the first races that she ever ran, and she became interested in running, and actually went on and got a scholarship to the University of Central Florida as a runner. And if you go to the cross-country meets, almost all of the people on the cross-country team have been to Alaska. So that's a real positive. I'd like to think it's because they're runners because of the Alaska Great Lakes Project.
I would imagine, though, this affects a lot of their decisions in college and futuring their education. That must kind of inspire them in different ways.
Well, they learn all the leadership skills. If you look at of course, we're attracting some of the top kids to the project now, but it's also energizing them and getting them involved. The year before last, 10 out of the top 11 kids had gone to Alaska, and many of them had become junior leaders. And the other one was a transfer student. That's why we didn't have the top 10. Last year, there were 7 out of the top 10 that had been part of the Alaska Great Lakes Project. So we're getting some great people, and many of them are coming back as junior leaders, some of them 2 or 3 times. We had a couple of kids who graduated this year and came up a week halfway into the trip because they wanted to be part of the trip. If the trip continues at least 2 more years, and I'm planning on that happening, we'll actually have a second generation traveler. 2 of the kids that went with us back in 90 and 91. They're young. I think it's a daughter is in 6th grade, or was in 6th grade. So 2 years from now, be in 8th grade and be able to apply. Plus, we've had a lot of those kids from way back at the beginning now have come back as drivers. So they're coming back with a whole different view and offering a whole different thing to